This episode is brought to you by HASA. Liquid is clearly better. Liquid chlorine is the highest purity, works immediately, has no added cyanuric acid or calcium, and it will leave your pool safe, clean, and clear. And by the Bottom Feeder professional grade battery powered vacuum system. It sucks to clean pools, so cleaning pools sucks less. Get $100 off with code DVB100.
This episode is brought to you by Skimmer, the #1 pool service software in North America. With Skimmer, you can streamline your schedule, grow your revenue, and keep your customers coming back with 5-star service. Whether you're a one-person operation or an established team, Skimmer is your partner in success. Visit getskimmer.com/poolguy to try Skimmer for free for 30 days.
The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show.
And welcome to the Pool Guy Podcast Show. I just finished an episode on having a positive attitude and went over some practical ways of being realistic about your business. And here I'm going to talk to you about ways to avoid burnout. Burnout is a real thing in the pool industry. So I'm going to go over some tried and true tips on how to not get burned out in your pool service business. Are you a pool service pro looking to take your business to the next level? Join the Pool Guy Coaching Program. Get expert advice, business tips, exclusive content, and get direct support from me. I'm a 35-year veteran in the industry. Whether you're starting out or scaling up, I've got the tools to help you succeed. Learn more at swimmingpoollearning.com. What are some of the signs that you're kind of getting burned out? Well, I think the first sign is maybe a negative attitude. I talked in depth about that in the last episode. But part of the negative attitude is that you're not motivated. You're not motivated to get out of bed in the morning to get to work. You're kind of feeling really down while you're doing the pool service. And you're feeling that things aren't going right for you or moving in the right direction. So there are some things you can do, of course, to prevent this. A lot of it has to do, of course, with sleep habits and eating right. That's like basic stuff that you should already be implementing. But there are some things that you may not have thought about. The first thing I'm going to suggest is that you do utilize those vacation days that you have built into your pool service route. What am I talking about here? Well, if you charge monthly, you should have built in to your service 4 weeks of vacation. If you go on to the National Pool Route Sales site and you're looking to buy a pool route, you're going to see a lot of the listings. They're going to say 48 weeks of service. And you think to yourself, well, wait a minute, there's 52 weeks a year. How can they be selling a route where they have 48 weeks of service? And of course, the reason they can do that is because you yourself should be taking a month off. Of course, not all at one time. And you want to be strategic about your weeks off, not to take them like in the middle of June or July. When you get back, your pools are going to be pretty much wasted from the weather, the heat, and they really can't survive that long in the summer. Strategically plan those breaks. But if you look at a calendar, for example, if you're looking at September of this year, there are actually 5 Mondays and 5 Tuesdays in September. So all the customers you do on Monday and Tuesday are getting an extra service day at the same rate that you're charging them for 4 stops that month. Meaning that just about every calendar month, let me go to October here. October has 5 Wednesdays, 5 Thursdays, and 5 Fridays, which is a pretty good month. November actually is kind of strange where the extra days fall on Saturday and Sunday, so that month is a wash. And then December of this year, there's 5 Mondays, 5 Tuesdays, and 5 Wednesdays. You kind of see how the customers all get an extra service day, and it adds up to about 4 extra service days a year, and which means you cash those days in for vacation. So if you neglect taking time off, taking those vacation days, I can guarantee that you're going to be burned out pretty fast in any profession, but in a pool service in particular. You need that week off to kind of get out of the monotony. And what I mean by monotony is that you're seeing the same thing day in and day out. It's going to get extremely boring over time. And if you go 6 or 7 months doing the same route, same routine, everything the same, it's boring. The point is, if you take a vacation and go somewhere nice, let's say you go to Yosemite or you go to a nice city like I recently went to Chicago and Boston, it'll recharge you. It'll give you new ideas. It'll make you feel good about yourself. You don't want to come back, of course, but you go back to work. But then you have on your calendar another week off somewhere. And most pool companies will have a dedicated week off in between Christmas and New Year's. And so utilize that time. I would suggest having that dedicated week off between Christmas and New Year's every year. Have that built in as one of your weeks. Then have the other 3 weeks kind of floating around that you can use to take vacations. And I think that's a critical way to prevent burnout, just by having those vacation days to cash in. Now, of course, having a service agreement that explains that to the customers is great. And I do have one available for you. It's in Word format, so you can adjust it, make alterations to it. Just email me at david@swimmingpoollearning.com. I can send you that service agreement. It's a one-page form, and it does outline your sick days and vacation days for the customers. So there's no questions about it. You're not going to get someone saying, well, you weren't here last week. What happened? Then you got to go through the whole thing and explain to them how there's extra calendar days. And sometimes people just don't understand that. In that case, just go to weekly billing on those customers. And those weeks you take off, those 4 weeks, just don't bill them for those 4 weeks if they're going to push back on the way you have it set up with the monthly calendar billing. Something else you can do, and I really suggest doing this if you take a vacation, you get back, and you're still feeling kind of like, well, I mean, this is really monotonous, and you're getting more of a negative attitude still. Why don't you go to a 4-day work week? This is something that a lot of pool pros really aim to get to. And what I mean by a 4-day work week is that you can take either Friday or Monday off, and that gives you a 3-day weekend. Now, how do you get to this point? Well, there's 2 ways of doing it. And the first way, I would probably not recommend it if you're getting burned out already. The first way would be moving some pools off, say a Monday, putting them on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, making those days a little bit longer, and then having Mondays off. That's something you can do, or having Fridays off and stacking the pools on the rest of the week. But the better strategy, I think, would be to raise your service rates a little bit. Let's just say $10. And across the board, by raising it $10, let's say 5 customers cancel, which is pretty high. I don't think you're going to get 5 people canceling, but you may get 2 or 3 people canceling. After that, you want to get rid of some of the accounts that are trouble accounts. So let's say Mr. Jones, it takes you a little extra time there because the trees are a mess all the time, or another customer uses their pool a lot, and so you're spending a lot of time trying to balance the water. Just give those customers notice saying that, due to the fact that you're consolidating your pool route, you'll have to let go of some accounts, and unfortunately, their pool is one of them. If you want a recommendation, let me know. I can refer someone to you to take over the account. And if you can shed about 10 accounts, maybe 2 or 3 quitting because you raised the rates, maybe 5 or 6 because you don't really want to do those pools anymore, and then maybe move a couple pools here and there to create that 4-day work week, I think you're going to be a lot better off. First of all, you've gotten rid of some pools that bring you down already. You don't really want to get to those pools and go to those pools, and not having them on your route really helps you mentally right there. And the fact that you raised everyone $10 will cover and compensate for any pools that you've lost. And so you're not losing any money. You might lose a little bit, you might break even, but it's kind of a net kind of thing where you're not gaining any money and not losing any money by shedding some of these low-hanging fruit or bad accounts. And also if customers cancel because you raised the rate. And the Pool Guy Podcast Show has teamed up with UPA to bring you affordable, reliable liability insurance starting at just $64 a month. Get up to $2 million in coverage, and the members of my coaching group get an even lower rate. Protect your business and your peace of mind. Sign up with UPA today by clicking the link in the podcast description. And then you're on a 4-day work week, and I would not suggest getting any new accounts unless you're going to get a new account and you're going to drop another account that is kind of, so-so, not the greatest pool. You can live without it, then bring on a nice new account and replace it. And at that point, you're on a 4-day work week, and I can almost guarantee you your attitude is going to improve dramatically just by the fact that you have 3 days off to recharge. And that's something that you can implement pretty easily. And a lot of pool pros do implement that 4-day week because they like having the extra day. And an extra day, if you don't take it off, you can maybe do some extra work, repairs, get some extra money. But having that extra day to be off is something that's ideal. And that may just be enough to turn around your attitude and your business to the point where it's more enjoyable now to go out there. On another note, what you can do in some cases, and this may be something you would want to do, it may be something you wouldn't want to do, but instead of dropping those pools, you can actually hire someone part-time and give them 20 or 30 accounts, maybe build up some more accounts yourself, and you would still have that 4-day week, but then you would have an employee working for you and having 30 or 40 pools that they can manage and take care of. You're taking care of a manageable amount of pools as well, leaving yourself some margin. And this is really important when you bring on an employee, is that you don't stack up your route again to a full route and have the employee doing 40 pools, because what happens if the employee gets sick or actually quits on you, and then you're stuck with 120 pools and there's no way you can actually manage that. You can probably do 120 pools for a week or two by working Saturdays as well and working all day and all into the afternoon. But doing that is unrealistic. So if you do bring on an employee and give them, say, 20 or 30 pools, I wouldn't bring your pools back up from 50 to 80 pools again, because of course you're going to be making a lot more money, but then you have the risk of something happening to the employee and you having to take on all the accounts again. Once the employee has proven to be reliable, let's say after 6 or 8 months, you could start maybe bringing on a few more accounts and thinking about bringing on another part-time employee. You could even make that employee full-time by giving him 60 pools or 70 pools if it looks like they're going to stick with you for a long time. There's no guarantee, of course, of anything. There's no guarantee that he won't start his own pool business. There's no guarantee, really. But at least you know that if something happens, you can manage that, bring on someone else if you can, or sell part of that route to kind of alleviate some of those extra pools. This may be something you don't want to do because you're stressed about the idea. You don't really want an employee working for you. That's perfectly understandable. But that's an option also to alleviate some of that burnout. Have the employee do a good amount of pools. You're doing less pools yourself. And so you're freed up to do other things and maybe even go to a 3-day work week and have the employee doing a lot of pools. You're not going to make as much profit, of course. It may be okay. It may be a little less than you were making before if you don't bring on more accounts for yourself. But it's going to alleviate some of that burnout that you're feeling, and you're still making a good income, and you've lightened kind of the workload by having a good employee doing some pools for you. So that's an option as well, and maybe even expanding to 2 employees, and then you build up the route again and get some more pools. However you want to handle that. I think if you're doing too much, you can, of course, shed some pools or think about bringing on an employee to kind of lighten your load a little bit until you kind of get your feet back under you and start feeling better and more positive about your business. Because truthfully, when you're working really hard and you're feeling overworked, it's not a good place to be, and it's not a good place to be mentally to think of these strategies or think of ways to improve. It's just one of those kind of things where if you're overworked and stressed and burned out, just by continuing in that cycle, it's not going to help you. Einstein has a definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. If you don't make changes to your schedule, to your work week, to help alleviate that feeling of burnout or the feeling of, negativity in your business, it's not going to change. And so these are really positive ways, I think, and really practical ways you can turn things around by doing something that alleviates that. And one last thing you can do, this is something that I do, and I suggest you do it as well, and do something positive in your community, volunteer work that you can do so that you're not hyper-focused on yourself and your work. Really, I think that's not a healthy place to be, where the only thing you have is your pool service business or maybe your pool service and investments, and there's nothing else in your world. That really limits you, and that really affects how you think about yourself. You're too, self-centered, I would say, or self-focused at that point, and you don't have a mindset towards others, and this is something that's not healthy either. So I think you need to have that kind of outlet where you're doing something for other people. You can volunteer. You can, if you're someone who goes to church, you can volunteer at your church. Do something positive as a outlet so that you're helping your community and other people and get your mind off yourself and your own problems in a way. That really goes a long way in changing your attitude when you find a positive outlet, something that, hey, I'm pretty good at doing this and I'm helping people. I feel good about myself. And then you go to work on Monday and feel good about your business. Really, that is really important. It's an important factor that I think a lot of people don't realize as something that's going to benefit them positively. You may think, well, it's a waste of time to do this or to volunteer here or do this because I don't have the time for it. Make some time for it, and I can guarantee you're going to be more fulfilled by doing something for other people. And when you get back to your own problems, it's not going to look as big. I mean, if you want to do something practical, I've done these things. Volunteer at a food drive, giving out canned food to the homeless people, or even better, find a church or an organization that feeds the homeless. Go there on a night, cook the meal for them, hand it out to them, and you'll realize that your problems at your work are insignificant compared to these people that don't even have a house or a home to go to. I remember one homeless couple in particular, they had I think it was like a 10-year-old son with them. They had no house. They had everything in this cart, and we were feeding them, giving them a meal. And their number one fear was a social worker taking away their son, because obviously he can't be on the street with them, but they don't have a house. And I was thinking, wow, how would that be if you had to worry about if someone was going to take away your kids every night? You have to kind of be aware of who's around you all the time and the frightening aspect. And it makes your problems, someone not paying you on time, or you're having a problem with this pool where it's not priming well. Those are insignificant at that point when you think about someone else's problem where they're worried about losing their kids to the state. So something to think about. All these things you can implement pretty easily. Vacation, totally recommend taking those vacation days. Don't pass up on those days. Don't not cash them in any business, but especially in pool service. Go to a 4-day work week. Bring on an employee to alleviate some of the work you have. But bottom line, do something positive to change where you're at. And I can guarantee you're going to feel a lot better just by thinking about things you can do to change how you feel. It's going to make you feel better about everything. And the positive attitude comes by making real, concrete, realistic, positive changes to how you're doing things now. And implement these things right away. I think if you wait, nothing's going to get better. So if you're not implementing any of these 4 things that I mentioned, I definitely would recommend implementing something as soon as you can. If you're looking for other podcasts, you can, of course, subscribe here Monday through Friday on YouTube. An episode drops there each day. And you can go to my website, swimmingpoollearning.com. And on the banner, there's a podcast icon. Click on that for a drop-down menu of over 1,700 podcasts. And if you're interested in my coaching program, you can learn more at poolguycoaching.com. Have a great rest of your week, and God bless. This episode is brought to you by HASA, providing products that deliver clean, healthy water for every aspect of everyday life. The bottom feeder battery-powered vacuum system, portable, powerful, and only weighs 12 pounds. And Skimmer. Get Skimmer, America's #1 pool service software. Podcast listeners can try Skimmer for free at getskimmer.com/poolguy.